Welcome to Brands Bites, the podcast that brings you bite-sized insights into groundbreaking tech, all the way into the latest gadgets. I'm your host, Tom, and without further ado, let's kick things off with our news items. Starting with, on iOS 17, you will be able to sideload apps. This is to comply with the European Union's gatekeeper regulations. This will be the first time that you'll be able to do this on Apple, and this will be a huge charge. This will mean tons of things for developers, including you won't have to pay Apple's 15 to 30% cut of action. You won't have to be on the Apple App Store. This could potentially allow people to download the Epic Games Store, which there's been a lawsuit about and kind of ended pretty unclear. But the European Union's doing this. This is to kind of keep gatekeeper companies like Apple and Google, kind of your two to think about, to open up their services and platforms to other companies and developers. Third-party stores to side-loading apps to promoting their offers outside of the App Store, which is something on Apple has been very frowned upon by Apple. Now, this is great. Apple's going to be upset that this is a privacy and security problem. With that, I will guarantee you that Apple will find a way to make this a reason to still go with Apple, as in, yeah. You can do this now on Apple. This is a cool new feature. You'll be able to sideload apps. But, as you've heard us say, they won't say it like this, but as you've heard them say, this is a huge security concern and privacy concern. But on iOS, here's all the privacy and security things we're doing to keep those things much safer than our counterpart or other companies. They won't mention, but they're going to be talking about Android and Google for the most part. So this will be fascinating to see what the marketing Apple does around this. I don't think we'll see it at WWDC. Maybe they'll talk about it a little bit, but more along when they release the iPhones in September. But it's actually here. They're going to have to allow this. They're, going to have a huge amount of fines if they don't. Somehow, this is another area that the EU seems to get regulating right sometimes, where they regulate these big social media companies. Somehow they find a way to do it in a reasonable way. Like having fines as much as 20% of global revenue, which is a massive amount of money. Like not just EU revenue, but no, if they violate these EU laws, that would be 20% of global revenue, which is massive. And that is a big deal, especially when you're talking about a company like Apple who makes trillies. So millies, billies, lots of money. Rivian is following up Tesla, though, with opening its EV charging network to other brands. I'm going to complain again about EV charging networks. I'm glad that everyone's like, no, we'll open them up. Use the same frickin' connector then, because I don't want to have to, when I eventually get an electric car, I don't want to carry around 50 adapters to use your chargers, or just have to figure out how your stupid charger works to have the right adapter on it. Tesla's retrofitting theirs with being able to do that with certain types of adapters, but just let's all standardize this stuff more. It's good that we're all opening it up and working together to make these a wider, so you don't have to only go to this network or that network and figure that out. I'm glad we're trying to make everything to everybody, but let's make some things standardized. Like Type-C is going to be standardized in the UK as well. Or Europe. I don't remember who's doing what over there, but let's standardize some stuff. Doesn't have to charge via Type-C cable, but let's standardize it like that, where everyone's using the same thing. Now, this is going to be shortly after they took advantage of integrating Tesla's supercharging locations with a Magic Dock into its vehicle navigation app. So in Rivian's navigation app, it will also pull up Tesla chargers that will support that vehicle, which is sweet. Now, these chargers will have the included CSS adapter to work with non-Tesla models, opening up what may consider to be the best DC fast charging network across the US. Very, very good likely, but, we'll kind of see what happens for sure, because these things roll out and they don't always roll out the smoothest, so we shouldn't jump ahead of ourselves. Now, on Marques Brownlee's Waveform podcast earlier this month, the CEO of Rivian said that they basically decided to build out its own network after realizing the underinvestment in public charging. Fair enough, man, but maybe we should at least the way that Elon advertises Tesla, their goal is to accelerate sustainable energy, right? So if that's true, maybe you guys can try to work together on a charging network. That would be sick to see if the two newcomers in electric vehicles that are kind of I would say they're the two biggest companies kind of talked about outside of, your traditional automakers. If those two could come together and be like, nah, we're powerhousing this, that would be sweet. Now, they plan to have around 600 stations with fast charging in the next 2 years, prioritizing connecting the East and West Coast. Now, Tesla EV charging networks is one of the best options today, and I mean, that's just not going to change Tesla's number of chargers, but also the reliability and uptime of its own. I have family members that just had issues with reliability and uptime of their own, and this is exactly the problem with electric vehicles right now. Not necessarily the range, well, it does suck. If the chargers worked fine, the range wouldn't be as big of a deal, but the truth is, at some point, you're going to need to not charge at home, and if you're not driving a Tesla, you're going to be kind of upset that that's what's happening. But this is sweet that Rivian's at least thinking this far ahead, that they're going to need to have some other way to deal with electric car chargers outside of what Tesla is providing. And Tesla can only invest so much in it, so somebody else is going to have to build out some form of charger. I mean, if there's only two connectors, that's one thing, and that's fine. The problem is everybody's going to try to do their own thing because that's just what companies do when they're trying to outpace the other ones. And Tesla is outpacing other ones in many ways with more price cuts. So slashing prices again, new cars will now start under $40,000, which is, they're getting down there to that $35,000 that they originally thought they could hit with the Model 3, at least for the opening model. The Model 3 standard range rear-wheel drive, Tesla's cheapest vehicle, went from $41,990 to $39,000, so $2,000 drop, which doesn't sound like much, but every $2,000 makes a huge difference in getting this price down and more affordable to the average person. I mean, $39,000 is still a lot for a sedan. That's still a lot to ask. Model Y also went down and went basically down $3,000 across the board. Pretty sweet to see that as well. And now the Model Y will still qualify for the $7,500 tax credit in the US, which the Model 3 does not anymore. But these entry-level cars dropping in price is great to see Tesla doing that. They've been all year, they've been slicing prices while everyone else has been raising them. It's interesting to see them go that way, and it's got to be affecting them in some way, which is going to be part of the same topic here, but basically Tesla's rampant price cutting is leading to some toll on profits. That said, they're still very profitable. They did publish their first quarter earnings, which the company said it earned $2.9 billion in net income and $23.3 billion in revenue. So this is a 24% increase year to year. Last year they did $18.7 billion in revenue in quarter one. So clearly a $5 billion upkeep is quite a bit. Now, the company's gross margins fell 19.3%. This is probably due to the price cutting, and things got a little more expensive here after the COVID years. Now, the idea here, I think, for Tesla is to keep, their deliveries flying up, keep orders going up, and to do that, you need to kind of keep hitting these lower price brackets, which I think might be why we have that rumored Model 2 possibly actually coming soon, because this is going to be part of their way of hitting that cheaper market where people love the brand, might not be able to afford the brand, and can maybe do that. So these earnings come on the heels of a somewhat disappointing delivery production report in which the company said it delivered 422,875 of its EVs to customers in the first quarter of 2023, including 412,180 Model 3 and Model Ys and 10,695 Model S and X vehicles, which is crazy to think how much these vehicles have taken over their Teslas. I don't know why you would go for Model S and X if you're a normal person. You don't really need the speed of one of those. You're getting pretty dang close to the same thing in terms of spec. I mean, you'll get a little less range, a little less speed, but it's not that big of a difference. Why would you spend the extra money? So Tesla has kind of cannibalized their own range of product a little bit with the Model S or with the Model 3 and Y. That said, the Y and X, I feel like there's a bigger difference. I feel like the X is definitely a bigger vehicle, has the different doors. There's at least a differentiating factor there compared to a Model Y. But a 3 to S, I mean, it's not that big of a difference. I mean, look is a little bit, but price to performance wise, I don't know. You're in a rough spot there. You almost just go for the cheaper one because it makes more sense. Now, most recently, the company cut prices of the Model 3 and Y for a second time. Below 40,000. The big number here is 35. That's what Tesla's always wanted to hit with the Model 3. And they're only like 4,000 off of that, so not very far off indeed. Now, the Tesla also saw much hyped investor day in which Elon unveiled the Master Plan 3. This was another thing we covered already. Basically, Tesla's off to a pretty strong start, and they're hoping to continue that with these price cuts. And it's just, who's challenging them? No one's really challenging them. VW is going to be trying to challenge them here with the aim to dethrone the Model 3 with its long-range ID.7 electric vehicle. Volkswagen, I remember originally they were like, nah, Tesla's not really a threat. We're not that worried. Elon's got his own thing going on. It's not going to affect us. And then Elon and him kind of did the Elon thing of getting upset at each other, and now they're like, oh, we can match that and we can beat them. We can be there. We can help them out. We can do better than that Tesla company over there. So VW is keeping its key details under wraps, other than, some stuff which we do know. Now, it does have a roomy interior, pretty impressive aerodynamics, and a healthy amount of range. 86 kilowatt-hour battery is expected to go about 435 miles based on the WLTP standard, which is pretty dang far. And that's pretty good range on a vehicle like this. Vehicle looks super nice. Volkswagen's electric vehicles have started to look nicer compared to some of the original ones. I like how this one looks. I could be down to drive this. They're kind of going for the Tesla look here. Everyone's kind of moving towards that look now. And I mean, just a good-looking vehicle. Now, this would take a lot more charge than the ID.4 crossover SUV, which that can accept about 125 kilowatt of DC fast charging. The ID.7 will take 170, and the later ID.7 Pro S version will be able to accept 200 kilowatts. I mean, that's a lot of power to accept. It's great. Again, VW, I feel like, is one of the only fossil fuel companies that's actually, I mean, Hyundai and Honda are doing okay too, but like your Fords, your Chevys, I don't know. They're just, these American companies are pretty resistant to this stuff still. The German engineering at its finest here. Now, 2 battery sizes and a silhouette that will outclass the Tesla Model S, or Model 3, sorry. And yeah, I mean, this thing does look nice. Love that back light there. Just, nailing the design of this vehicle. Interior lighting looks great. Screen looks great. We got the panoramic roof, which always looks great. I'm a big fan of how this vehicle looks, and if it really can dethrone the Model 3, or at least get close to it, great. I'd love to see an actual competitor to Tesla's vehicles, especially if they can hit the price point, which hopefully they can. Hopefully they can. Within a few thousand at least, because that puts it, at least you're kind of in that range of where you need to be, which would be great to see. Drake sang a new song that was an AI. It wasn't even him. And I think this article here by The Verge is actually a great thing to cover this, because this is an impossible legal trap for Google is what they're talking about, but I think this is a much bigger picture they're painting here, where if you're able to have a song, I mean, here's the song a little bit. I mean, this is a completely AI-made song, AI-generated vocals with a song like Drake and The Weeknd. The song is blown up. I mean, it's a big song, went viral. And I think the real thing here is, how will these tech companies help? How do you draw the line here? Where's the line on copyright here? Because it sounds like the person, it isn't the person, and it definitely could be. Like, people can't really tell. Now, That said, you can usually, if you have listened to an artist a lot or listened to somebody talk a lot, you can pick up on the little things that, that's not quite right. But the point is, it's really close to being quite right, where most people probably wouldn't think twice. So, where does this go? Do we not need voice actors anymore? Do I just license your voice? How does DMCA work? Do they take down that stuff? Do they leave it up? Is it parody? Like, the line to draw here with AI is going to get so convoluted with the amount of stuff that's going on. And what how do you determine something as being completely a legal problem versus just what is the fair use here? Where are the lines? I have no idea where you would draw the lines for stuff like this. This seems like you should probably be licensing his voice or something of that nature, but then who's to say that, like, once that person's gone or dead, like, what do you do then? Like, then can you do it? Is it okay? There's so many lines to find here to draw. Like I said, music's gonna be a big thing. Podcasts are gonna be a big thing. I mean, why would I record this anymore if I can have a fake me do random hand gestures and just make my voice, and I just feed in the articles I want fake me to talk about? I mean, sounds sweet. Sounds like an easy way. If it can really embody my personality and do that, why wouldn't I let it? Free way to just keep this show more consistent, not have to rely on me necessarily. But at the same time, then, like, how does that work if someone else does it? Do they have to license it from me? Can they just use it? I mean, there's so many questions here. This is just one of the things AI is going to bring lots of questions to. And, you know, at the end of the day, YouTube only exists by the people that are creating content. If no one creates content, there's no YouTube. YouTube, at the end of the day, has to protect their content creators, but where is the line on protecting them? Where do you go, nah, this is okay, this is parody, this is totally good, this isn't, this is copyright, you owe the creator this? YouTube's going to have to figure that out here. They're going to have to either work with these AI companies to apply licenses to the platform and get things approved somehow, integrate together, or they're going to have to, I don't even know. I mean, this is just, things are changing so fast right now with AI, and this is a great example of one of the problems that AI is going to present. And this is a big one. I mean, just wow. Just wow. With that, Google has another problem on their sleeve, and that is Samsung it sounds like, this is internal kind of things, is debating leaving Google, as in getting rid of Google search on Samsung devices and moving over to Bing. I've talked about this before, that with ChatGPT in Bing search, which I'm using Chrome here for this, but I actually use Bing as my daily driver now. I use Microsoft Edge because of ChatGPT, because it makes it so much more fun to use and easier to just get my answer instead of pulling up articles that I have to scroll for my answer. Even when Google, pulls a little paragraph up saying, hey, this is your answer, this is what you were looking for, it's not always exactly what I wanted or with the detail I wanted, versus Bing Chat usually has it with the detail I wanted. If not, I just ask a question in the conversation to get the answer I wanted, and it knows the context, versus Google, I'm kind of rewording my search, researching. And Samsung's taking note on that, and you just can't blame them, because it's kind of a big deal to do that. Now, this could give Apple, who does this current revenue share agreement with Alphabet, to chance to either make more money, make less money. Maybe Apple will switch too, which would be incredibly wild to see. This could even just give Apple better terms to try and work with Google on this. This was going to force Google to make Bard way better than Bard is. And yeah, I mean, if you haven't used ChatGPT itself, I would encourage trying Microsoft Edge. And you can use the chatbot on Microsoft Edge as if you are a regular person, and or not a regular person, if you are just trying to ask the chatbot questions, but you can also just search things and then use the chat section to get your answer, and you'll see just how little of a tweak it is, but how big of a change it is in how you search and find information. That said, it is a little concerning seeing things, you know, if Google really loses these big contracts like this that everybody just goes to Google for at the moment, we could see a huge change in just Google in general and how it works and what's really going to look like. I mean, Apple could bargain for better monetization money, and that's 2 billion Apple. I mean, that's a lot of devices to try and get that with. And it also gives Microsoft kind of a way in now. If Samsung is willing to switch, and Samsung we know makes a lot of parts for Apple. If Apple's seeing these big companies switching off of Google, what's to hold them back? I mean, Microsoft's in the they were sitting down here compared to, you had your Google search, you had your Bing search, and then you had, the other guys were somewhere below the table. And then you just had, Bing search got ChatGPT, and it went kind of, in line. And then with ChatGPT 4, I would say it went above. I mean, it was probably a little bit above even with 3. But this is a real turning point if these companies are really going to consider actually switching who's providing them with this ability to do these things. And that's just, you're going to have to wonder, man. I mean, that's some big changes. Just like some other big changes we have going on here, the U.S. will soon be home to the world's first 3D printed hotel. It'll be a 62-acre desert oasis located in Marfa, Texas. I hope I'm saying that right. And these bungalows, maybe is the right word? These 3D printed things look sweet. We've seen other 3D printed homes. I've watched many 3D printed videos. But this place looks pretty sick. Now, the concrete construction mix unit here they got going on to make these is pretty cool. These little huts look kind of nice. I don't know how I would feel about going to a hotel like this. Now, that said, it would be kind of fun to 62 acres, you could maybe rent out with a bunch of friends and go for a weekend or something. maybe there's too many for that, but for the time being, El Cosmico is, I hope I said that right, is only 21 acres, but the 3D printed expansion will nearly triple that area, transforming it into 62-acre desert oasis with all the necessary elements that make a summer vacation enjoyable and restful. There is a massive infinity pool kitted with cabanas and captivating guest dwellings, and they look sick. I mean, they're just little circular home things, it looks like. Pretty basic 3D printing for one of these devices, but nonetheless, I mean, you're going to bring people in just because it's 3D printing, which is sick and awesome to see. And nice job, middle U.S. place of places. And with that, that is it for topics here. The last one was just kind of a cool one. I didn't really need to talk about that one very much. I just thought it was cool and was like, we'll throw her in there. So with that said, thanks for joining us on today's Brand Bites episode. I'd love to hear your bits and bites down below. Leave a comment below with your opinions as well. Let me know what you think. Is the AI Drake going to really throw the internet for a loop? I mean, think of all the other artists that'd be super easy to replicate as well. And with that, don't just forget to subscribe for more, and I'll catch you in the next Brand Bites.